We're focusing on Thich Nhat Hanh's commentary on the Sutra on the Full Awareness of Breathing, the Anapanasati Sutta. I always feel like that's a tongue twister. and the commentary is called Breathe, You're Alive. Seems like a wonderful balance and antidote to the month we spent before.
Death.
Dead. No, we did birth death. So, we're all inclusive here. I'm trying not to leave anybody or anything out. So we began on Tuesday. We'll continue for the month. I'm going to be away next Thursday at Tassajara, which is a huge gift. And Marianne will be taking up a piece of this sutra, and then later in the month, Debbie and Chelsea will also be bringing forward the sutra. So the sutra itself is, Thich Nhat Hanh says in the very first introduction, we're doing the second introduction today, I'm going to more or less follow the book. What a base sutra, this is such a simple sutra and it's the base of everything. So that's lovely. We don't have to try so hard. We can just surrender. We're going to be doing the teachings, but we're also going to be doing guided meditations and gathas and just giving ourselves. So the base of the two base teachings that are in this sutta are the four foundations of mindfulness, which is the Satipatthana Sutra, which we've done in the past and we will, I was going to say we should do again, but we will do again because it's just basic and beautiful, early Pali teachings. And the 7 factors of awakening, which I don't think we've ever done before, and that we'll just touch on it, but maybe some other time we'll do that more fully. I kind of appreciate that, talking to myself and to all of you. So the very first part of the sutta is divided into 6 sections, and the very first part describes the circumstances under which the Buddha delivered this Dharma talk. So this is the Buddha's teachings. This isn't, Mahayana says these are Buddha's teachings, but it came forward later. Time was time and space, but this is Pali teachings are, hey dudes, this is what Buddha said, pay attention. So I'll just do a little summation because it's nice to imagine. He was in the Eastern Park with many trees right outside the city of Savatthi, and a number of monks were staying there. They say monks, it sounds masculine to me, but I would want to imagine, although I don't know, that there were also nuns there. There may have been more than 400 of them, and each taught 10, 20, 30, or 40 newer monks. So the teachings were growing and people were coming, and maybe in the way that we do it here in small groups. We just get together and we share the Dharma and we talk about it and we turn it in our lives. So every morning they would sit in meditation, this is traditional, and then you would go out and beg for food. Sometimes wealthy patrons would invite them in and feed them. And if you didn't have resources, I've seen this in Southeast Asian countries, it's people come out on the street, people just come out and offer whatever they have. A small house, you feed your family, and so of course you feed the monks too, because that's part of your extended family in a certain kind of way. Buddha and the disciples only ate 1 meal a day. When we do longer retreats, we acknowledge breakfast and lunch and then not dinner. We kind of do this funny little thing to say, this looks like a meal, but it's really not a meal. So pretend it's a nice, lots of creativity here. talk about Four Noble Truths of the Anapanasati Sutta. And then when the sun was still up, the Buddha would teach his disciples under a shady grove of trees. And sometimes he would give a Dharma talk in the evening if the moon was bright enough. Isn't that sweet? So imagine that. So he had, it says here, previously explained the aspects of the practice of the full awareness of breathing a number of times. There were many disciples already practicing it, but this time he taught the entire method completely. And he probably chose this because there were so many, well here it says bhikkhus, which it doesn't say bikini, so it must have been just monks at this time. But I'm sure the nuns were listening across time and space. And this time the retreat was extended in an additional month to 4 months, so that people could come from all over to study and practice. So that's, when we do practice period, that's a replication of the monks would go out and wander and teach, and then they would come back in to have Sangha and to deepen in the practice and the teachings with the Buddha, and that's what practice period is an enactment of. It says there may have been as many as 1,000 present the evening the Lord Buddha delivered the sutra on the full awareness of breathing. So section 2, Thich Nhat Hanh says, is the heart of the sutra, which is the meditation, the exercises. So I want to back it up, and I'm going to jump to section 3 because I want to talk about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and then I'm going to do, we're going to do the meditation, which is the heart of it, and then over the next weeks, we will unfold these teachings, taking up one of the sections each time. Okay, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Thich Nhat Hanh says, everything that exists can be placed into one of the 4. He calls them the establishments of mindfulness, more traditionally called the foundations of mindfulness. The body, everybody's got one. Feelings, everybody's got them. Mind, everybody has one that you believe. And objects of mind. He says another way to explain objects of mind is all dharmas, which means everything that is. Therefore, the 4 foundations of mindfulness are objects of the mind. The minute you designate something and give it a name and pull it out of the fullness and the fabric of everything, it turns into a dharma, which is the aliveness of everything, but it also makes it a thing. It makes it an object of mind. So when we see in duality, we do subject object, which is fine. That's just the way we perceive. But when we completely believe and solidify, that's where we get into trouble. It's like, oh, you're over there and I'm over here, and I think I know who you are, or we all know this one. Okay. In this sutra, we practice full awareness of the 4 establishments through conscious breathing. The phrases. Hear this when we do the meditation. Observing the body in the body. Observing feelings in the feelings. Observing the mind in the mind. And observing the objects of mind in the objects of mind. The key to observation meditation is that the subject of observation and the subject and the object of observation are not regarded as separate. So I am not out here looking at myself breathing or evaluating this body or making judgments about these feelings. Being present and awake and aware in all of them already begins to change everything. Because we all know the minute we objectify something, then there's all the forms and the feelings and the projections and the impulses and the consciousness, and we've got our stories going, right? And the minute you go into your body, it's like, start evaluating, anyway, we've got a million different ways to evaluate our body. We like it, we don't like it, it's comfortable, it's uncomfortable, but what is it just to be in it and to allow whatever arises and then just to touch it with kindness and gentleness and let it go. When we observe something, we are that thing and become non-duality. Observing the body in the body means that in the process of observing, we do not stand outside our own body as if we are an independent observer, but we identify ourselves 100% with the object being observed. This is the only path that can lead us to penetration and direct experience of reality. Otherwise, in 100 million thousand different ways, we're going to make reality small, and then we're going to try to control it, right? We're going to try to make it something other than it is, and then there's more and more loops, and then there's more and more suffering. But what is it to just fully and completely be just this? In the observation meditation, the body and mind are one entity, and the subject and object of meditation are also one entity. The meditator is fully engaged and not a separate observer, which is what zazen is. You sit down right in the center of the whole world, with and for the whole world, breathing and being breathed, and whatever arises is Buddha. It's not a problem. It's not something that you have to fix or get over. It's just being awake and aware in the midst of it. What is zazen? It's non-zazen. It's alive. You sit down in the midst of alive. Observation meditation is a lucid awareness of what is going on in the body, feelings, mind, and all dharmas. Persevering, fully awake, clearly understanding their state, gone beyond all attachment and aversion to this life. Life means all that exists. Stubbornly clinging to all that exists or resisting and rejecting. You probably don't do it very much, but you can notice. Clinging. Again, oh, yum, yum, yum. I mean, that's fine. Or resisting and rejecting. Both lack the lucidity of an awakened mind. To succeed in the work of observation, we must go beyond attachment and aversion. Body, first foundation. The practice of mindful breathing brings us back home to our body. To reconcile ourselves with our body, to help take care of our body, to look deeply into the body, to understand our body, and to allow transformation and healing to take place. The body in the body. Second, feelings. Very often, we leave our feelings unattended. Mindful breathing helps us go back to our feelings, to recognize them, to reconcile ourselves with them, and to look deeply into their nature so that understanding is possible. It's how we take good care of our feelings. We calm them, and then we can transform and heal them. What is anger? Sitting with anger in anger instead of, oh, it's anger. Oh, not all the stories. And that, what is it just to be anger in the feeling of anger? The third, mental formations, means that it is conditioned by different kinds of elements. So a physical formation, this is so Thich Nhat, is made of several elements, and the elements come together. Like a flower. If you think the flower is just a flower, and don't understand the flower is intervenous with the sunshine and the rain and the clouds and the earth, the minerals, everything is in the flower. The whole world, anything you pick up, this piece of paper, anything you pick up, the whole world is here. Which means that everything is impermanent. part of the reason they're so beautiful on the altar is because they're impermanent. Because they're opening, and they're going to open all the way, and they're going to fall, and then this rose hip, and it's just like, the world is a miracle, but we miss it. And we also get sad and angry because we just want flowers to stay the way they are. In India, on Hindu altars, as I observed and as I understand, you don't put flowers and water on the altar because that's like an extra effort to try to keep them the way they are. You bring them and you offer them in the acknowledgement that right before your eyes you will even see them decay. There are other kinds of formations that are not physical, like fear. Fear is a mental formation made of several elements, including the element of ignorance. Despair, anguish, attachment, love, and mindfulness are all mental formations. And he says that in his tradition, there are 51 categories. Now that's one of the amazing things about Pali teachings, is because the monks had to go out and teach. They made lists, they had lists. That's how you could go out and teach. You didn't just sort of express it, you know, it's like you weren't expected to do this creative, wonderful Dharma talk. You had talking points, and then everybody was sort of jumping off of the same thing. So there's 51 categories, and there's going to be a test at the end of this month, and you all are. So pay attention. Fear. Mindful breathing brings us back to our fear so that we can embrace it. We look deeply into the nature of our fear to reconcile ourselves with it. If we do well, we can calm our fear, look deeply into it, discover its true nature. Insight into our fear helps us transform. Please study fear. Please, in this time, there is so much fear in the air. There is so much fear being stirred up. What is it to take on the responsibility of just being with fear as a practice? Meeting it with curiosity and wonder, and what is it? So that it becomes one more alive formation that's passing through on a beautiful spring day. This is important. He names anger, despair, agitation, restlessness. And we come back mindfully and tenderly and lovingly. It contains two parts. The first part is calming. The second part is looking deeply. As soon as you use the energy of mindfulness to hold your mental formation, oh, fear. Oh, anger. Oh, restlessness. There is a tendency in that mental formation to calm down. Just by the very act of, oh, just this. Just this. And as you continue holding your mental formation, you are capable of looking into it. And you begin to have the insight you need regarding what kinds of conditions have brought that mental formation to you. This is the practice of looking deeply, which we call Vipassana in Pali, or Vipassana in Sanskrit. Oh, fear. I'm listening to the news. You know? It's just so for the sake of all beings. I mean, please listen. I listen to the news. I pay attention to how much news I listen to. But I also pay attention to what my body and mind is doing during the news. Because that directly affects whatever it is that I'm worried about. It's really, really important. This is so important. That by taking care of this body-mind, we are taking care of the body-mind of the whole world. The fourth foundation of our being is our perception. Most of our suffering comes from wrong perceptions. We do not have correct insight about the nature of reality. The more you study this, the more you know that you are creating your own reality all the time. And it's totally amazing And I suppose the great thing about this time is to realize how could someone have such a profoundly different perception of reality than I do, and therefore be aligned with a certain political view or a view about this or that. So we want to hunker down in our perceptions, which is not to say that there's an appropriate response and to find it, but when we do it from the perception of me and you, there's just more trouble.
Mm-hmm.
We practice looking deeply into the true nature of reality, the true nature of a flower, the true nature of our body, of our feelings, of our mental formations. Forms, feelings, and mental formations are all objects of our perceptions. You can kind of there's, as we were practicing and breathing in zazen outside, there's a peace and ease when you just take the backward step. And you're walking and being walked. You don't have this kind of tension that happens. But if you, and the more you study, the more you know what it feels like when you get entangled in your own stuff. You know what your mental formations look like. I mean, it's like you've been doing it your whole life. It's very humbling. And it's not the problem. Just notice your thought patterns. You know, notice body and what you do when you get scared. Notice how it makes you feel better, maybe. If you think it's that other person over there, then you don't have to take responsibility. Remember to come back. We cannot take the form out of the feelings, nor take feelings out of form. The same is true of mental formations and perceptions. These four foundations of our being, form, feelings, mental formations, and perceptions inter-are. If we know the art of looking deeply, we will discover reality as it is. So, feeling may connect you to body, what's happening in the body, or body may connect you to feeling, or objects and perceptions and belief systems. So you pick up any one piece of it, you're picking up the whole world. The moment we begin to understand our jealousy, our anger, everything begins to dissolve. That is why understanding is the liberating factor. And the aim of the practice of meditation is to get this liberating insight. That is why our perceptions are so important. We have to go back to them and inquire about their nature. You can say to yourself, this is suffering. Oh, I'm suffering right now. I'm entangled. I know you, old friend. And then instead of getting looped into it more and more, Dogen's language of just take the backward step and shine the light within. It's the exact same thing. It's just Dogen pointing, finger pointing at the moon. Okay, so now that you've all patiently listened, and I'm sure you've all completely understood, which is really wonderful.
You got it.
Let's just do a little experiencing of it, and I'm going to we're just going to do section 2 here, what the Buddha taught. This is what the Buddha taught. Looking here because I sort of missed this point and I like it. Buddha says, it is like this, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. The practitioner goes into the forest or to the foot of a tree, or to any deserted place, or to a zinga, or somewhere. and sit stably in the lotus position, in zazen, holding his or her body quite straight, not effortlessly straight, but upright, and practices like this. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in a long breath, I know I am breathing in a long breath. Breathing out a long breath, I know I am breathing out a long breath. Breathing in a short breath, I know I am breathing in a short breath. Breathing out a short breath, I know I am breathing out a short breath. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. And breathing out, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing in, I calm my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my whole body. Breathing in, I feel joyful. And breathing out, I feel joy. Breathing in, I feel happy. And breathing out, I experience happiness. Breathing in, I am aware of mental formations expressing themselves as feelings. And breathing out, I am aware of feelings as my mental formations. Breathing in, I calm my mental concentrate my mind. And breathing out, I concentrate my mind. Breathing in, I liberate my mind. And breathing out, I liberate my mind. Breathing in, I observe the impermanent nature of all dharmas. And breathing out, I observe the impermanent nature of all dharmas. Breathing in, I observe the disappearance of desire. And breathing out, I observe the disappearance of desire. Breathing in, I observe cessation. And breathing out, I observe cessation. Breathing in, I observe letting go. Breathing out, I observe letting go. These meditations, suppose if you thought there was a you that was supposed to be doing them and you were supposed to be making your mind happy, it could set up some resistance. My mind doesn't feel happy. What are you telling me to do? I'm not feeling happy in this moment. But there's something about observation meditation and the simultaneity of it that you can both be experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. Nobody's telling you to change it, but there's a bigger container, a bigger body, a bigger mind that is really Zazen body-mind that allows more and more. It's simultaneous. And then if it's simultaneous and there's both happiness or anger but there's also this deep breath beingness so much more creativity and possibility and aliveness. Because otherwise we're just little hamsters running around, right? And that's what we watch too. That's where compassion comes from. So, well, maybe if you just turn to the person next to you. And Thich Nhat Hanh's commentary is called "Breathe, You Are Alive." Could you just kind of explore anything you may have experienced in this that could feel like a gateway or an experience of aliveness? It's different than our ordinary self-identification. Does that make sense?